Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Jason was standing in front of the sink, rinsing a plate when Natalie appeared in the hallway holding two small suitcases. Her expression was firm, as if she had already rehearsed every word she would say. Without hesitation, she said, "I need some time for myself." He turned his face slowly, drying his hands with the towel. He looked at her for a few seconds and gave a slight nod. She understood it as permission. No questions were asked. No requests were made. She walked past him, opened the door, and left without hugs, without tears, and the house fell silent. In the first hours, Jason continued his routine. He washed the remaining dishes, organized the silverware, and took out the kitchen trash. The silence seemed like a new presence filling every room. He sat on the couch and turned on the TV, but didn't pay attention. He just let the sound fill the emptiness. That sudden absence seemed to have been anticipated by something he couldn't name, like a suppressed feeling that had lingered for a long time, but was now becoming real. In the following days, he followed through with almost military discipline. He woke up early, completed his morning tasks, stuck to his work schedule without deviation. At the gym, he focused intensely on his workouts, and at the office, he was praised for his consistent performance. Erin, his sister, called frequently, always trying to get something out of him. "Are you really okay, or are you pretending everything is fine?" He told her he was okay, just adjusting to this new phase. Daniel, his childhood friend, visited one night and commented on how calm he seemed. "Natalie left, and you're still acting like it's just another Tuesday." Jason didn't explain his feelings. He thought no one needed to understand. He wasn't comfortable opening up, even to himself. He had his own way of dealing with things. He preferred to bring order around him so he wouldn't lose control inside. While folding her clothes that were still in the drawer, he felt something similar to indifference. Or maybe it was protection. He knew ruminating wouldn't bring answers. People expected to see desperation, visible sadness, traces of pain scattered around the house. But Jason didn't put on that show. He cleaned up the remnants of their shared life with the same calmness he used when making a spreadsheet. He packed her books into a box, separated the bathroom products, emptied the cabinets. At night, he played ambient music and read articles about the real estate market. It was as if he was waiting for something to collapse within him, but nothing collapsed. During a conversation with Erin, she insisted, "Jason, you loved that woman for 6 years. How can you be so calm?" He answered honestly, "Loving someone doesn't mean holding on to someone who has already decided to leave." That was the truth he chose to carry. He avoided feeding illusions. It wasn't coldness, but clarity. He understood that any attempt to insist would only prolong a goodbye that was already final. That week, he lived like someone walking among invisible ruins. Knowing exactly where to step, he avoided the places they had gone together, deleted old messages from his phone, removed the photos from the shelf. He had the clarity to know that no object could bring back what was already lost long before the departure. There was a moment when he found an old note left by her on the fridge door, written in blue pen, "Good luck at your meeting today. I love you." He held the paper for a while, then tore it into small pieces and threw it away. That sentence, which once warmed him, now sounded like an empty echo. It wasn't anger, nor was it nostalgia. It was just realization. Something had changed, and he no longer needed to pretend he hadn't seen it. On a Sunday afternoon, he reorganized the entire kitchen cabinet. When he finished, he noticed that everything that belonged to her was already gone from there. Slowly, without rush or lists, just putting it all outside little by little, without thinking too much. It was as if his own house was adjusting, occupying the spaces with new meanings. He drank coffee, opened his laptop, and focused on work. He was learning how to be alone again. And despite everything, there was a strange kind of peace emerging from that absence. He didn't share these reflections with anyone. He simply lived. Aaron and Daniel remained worried, thinking his calmness was a form of denial. But Jason knew it was something else. It was acceptance, a deep understanding that sometimes we only lose someone who had already left from within a long time ago. And even without understanding all the reasons, he chose to move forward, without shouts, without dramatic answers, without cinematic endings, just silence, order, and a fresh start. Daniel showed up unannounced. He knocked on the door with restrained force, but with an urgency Jason immediately sensed. When he opened it, he saw his friend standing there with a concerned look, almost suspicious. Jason gave him space, and Daniel entered as if carrying something stuck in his throat. Without much ceremony, he went straight to the point. "I need to tell you something, and I don't know how you'll react." Jason leaned against the kitchen counter, crossed his arms, and waited. Daniel took a few steps, ran his hand over his neck, and blurted it out. "I saw Natalie 3 nights ago in a bar downtown." Jason kept his eyes on him, attentive. "She was with another guy, sitting very close to him, laughing, touching his arm like they were a couple, you know. They were comfortable, intimate. It didn't seem new. It seemed like it had been going on for a while." Jason grabbed a glass of water, drank slowly, and looked back at his friend. "So what?" Daniel pressed. "Aren't you going to say anything?" Jason placed the glass in the sink and answered with a calmness that almost sounded rehearsed. "She asked for some time. She's using her time the way she wants. I'm using mine." Daniel took a few seconds to try to figure out whether that was maturity or denial. He looked around as if searching for signs of pain, cracks in the facade, but he found nothing. Then he shook his head, disappointed. "All of this is really weird, man. This isn't normal." Jason didn't respond. He simply looked away toward the window as if ending the conversation without needing words. Daniel picked up the hint, got his keys from his pocket, and left without saying anything else, leaving a tension in the air that lingered even after the door closed. 3 weeks passed since that visit. Jason remained the same, as if he had become shielded inside. He continued with his workouts, work reports, and almost identical days, until one Thursday afternoon, while coming out of the shower, he heard the doorbell. He thought it might be a delivery, but when he opened the door, he found himself facing Natalie. She looked different. Her hair was tied up haphazardly, her eyes tired, her arms crossed as if holding back her own words from spilling out all at once. She didn't say anything right away. She just stood there, waiting for some reaction from him. Jason stayed quiet for a few seconds, taking in her unexpected presence, displaced and yet heavy with something that was still to come. She finally broke the silence with a short, almost whispered sentence. "Can we talk?" And there, in that exact moment, the time she had asked for began to demand its price. Natalie came in and stood in the center of the living room, as if the place itself had now become strange to her. She looked around, absorbing each corner, each object, as if searching for an emotional anchor to hold on to. Jason remained silent, leaning against the doorframe, waiting for her to say what she had come to say. And she started. She said she had thought a lot during those weeks. That his silence scared her, but also made her reflect. That she missed even the simplest habits they shared. She told him that the days without him felt empty, that no conversation was as complete, no smile as genuine as the ones they had here with him. She said that over time she realized how much he was the foundation of everything she wanted in life, that she had dreams with him, that she wanted to build a family, to have children, plan the future, start over from scratch beside him. She spoke with intensity, as if betting everything on that last card. Jason listened to every word, impassive. When she finished, he took a deep breath, turned around, and went to the kitchen. He opened a cabinet, took out a key, and returned. He extended the key toward her calmly. "Your things are in the garage. Please take them and go." Natalie didn't understand immediately. She stood there trying to process what he had just said. His voice carried neither anger nor contempt. It was just firm. She took a step forward, confused. What do you mean? Is that all you have to say to me? He remained standing, looking directly at her. There was no hesitation. I've already made my decision. She tried to maintain her posture, but the surprise was breaking her down inside. She looked at that man in front of her and felt that he was no longer the same. His gaze had changed. His silence was different. We need to talk. Please answer me at least. How have you been these days without me? Did you miss me? Jason kept his eyes on her for a few seconds before answering with a calm tone. No, I didn't. And from what I saw, you didn't either. She widened her eyes. He continued. You were seen in a bar with another man intimately, laughing, touching him like he was your new world. Natalie paled. She tried to defend herself. It meant nothing. He's just a friend. Jason laughed without irony. Just disbelief. You have 10 minutes to load your car and leave. She swallowed hard, her hands trembling. That man who once was all care and patience now gave orders like he was firing a stranger. She still tried to appeal to their story. But what about this house? We built so many things here. He crossed his arms. We lived here, but the house is mine. It was already mine before you. We never signed anything, never formalized anything, so please don't insist. Take your things and go. I have more important things to do. Natalie couldn't hold his gaze. The tears came without warning. She broke down right there in front of someone she once loved and who was now just a calm, determined, indifferent face. She tried to say something else, but swallowed the words. She walked to the garage, opened the car door, and started loading the trunk with the boxes Jason had already set aside. One by one, crying silently, alone, and for the first time, she understood there was no turning back. Time passed. Months turned into full seasons. Jason's house no longer held any trace of Natalie. No forced memories, no forgotten perfume lingering in some corner of the closet. His life followed its own path. He started visiting new places, took trips he had neglected for years, reconnected with old friends, and built new routines. Weekends, once divided between two people, were now entirely his, and he enjoyed them. He learned to live without forced silence, without the constant feeling of walking on broken glass. Work was going well and the nights were lighter. Some days he came home tired but with a peaceful mind. He slept without weight on his chest. For someone who had once lived beside someone who only loved half-heartedly, that was a victory. It was on an ordinary afternoon that Daniel showed up again. He had that look of someone bringing news. He walked in, declined coffee, and got straight to the point. Dude, I don't know if you want to hear this, but I thought you should know. Natalie, she's pregnant. Jason remained standing by the sink. He didn't react. He just looked at his friend, waiting for him to continue. As far as I understand, the guy she was with, that same one from the bar, he took responsibility for the child, but left her, disappeared. He said he would help with the kid, but didn't want a commitment with her, only with the baby. He left town, apparently. He's living in another state. Jason dropped the dishcloth he was holding and stared fixedly at Daniel. His expression changed for the first time in a long time. But it wasn't pain. It was a boundary. Daniel, listen to me, he said firmly. You're my friend. I've liked you since forever. But please stop coming here to be the messenger of other people's lives. I don't want to know. Seriously. Daniel tried to argue. I just thought you might want to hear. Jason cut in. Hear what? That she got pregnant by another guy. That he disappeared. Does that change anything for me? Do you think it makes me happy? Satisfied? Man, I don't want to know. If you want to come here and have a beer, run in the park, laugh at our usual nonsense, great. But if you're here to bring news about Natalie, or anything like that, forget it. Let's stop this." Daniel nodded in silence, embarrassed. He realized he had crossed a line. There was no room for that story anymore. Jason stepped back, grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, and didn't return to the topic. What Daniel didn't know, and Jason would never say, was that hearing about Natalie still hurt. Even after everything, her name carried an echo. Knowing the path she had chosen, the consequences, the defeats, it could reopen wounds he had just managed to heal. And he didn't want that. Not out of pride, but out of self-protection. Knowing too much could pull up feelings he had fought to bury. It was better to keep distance, not out of disdain, but out of respect for his own peace. The truth is that true love is only worth it when it's mutual. When it walks together, when one person doesn't have to ask the other to stay. And if someone leaves to find something better, sometimes they only discover too late that the problem had been inside them from the beginning. Natalie wanted to explore the world beyond the home they had built, and she got lost her balance, her essence, and perhaps the chance to live something sincere. Jason, on the other hand, found himself. He discovered that he could be whole, even after being broken. And after everything he lived through, one thing became clear. He would never accept crumbs from someone who had promised the banquet of love. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.